She may not be our daughter, but you're still going to raise her whether you want to or not. Hey there, Mr. Redder here, and the attractive one, me. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My wife expects me to raise her best friend's kid, and I'm sick of it. I, 31 male, am married to my wife Amber, who's 30. We have a daughter together, Emma, who's 7. The problem is my wife's best friend, Jennifer. She has a daughter as well, named Harper, who's 7. Well, Harper's dad is a lazy jerk, and he refuses to do anything with his daughter. He's the type of guy that brags about how he never had to change a diaper. Jennifer and Harper are usually at Amber and my house on the weekends because Harper's dad is drinking and watching sports all weekend. On Saturday, I normally spend all day with my daughter because I don't see her as much as I would like to during the week. However, with Harper being there every Saturday, anything I do with Emma, I have to take Harper with us. Take Emma to the zoo? It's Emma, Harper, and I. Taught them both how to ride bikes. Take them both to dance class. Take them both to the kids' salon, and so on. Mother's Day was the last straw. I took them both to dance class Saturday morning. Amber and I also pay for both dance classes because deadbeat dad won't. On the way home, Emma asked if we could stop to get something for Mom for Mother's Day. I said sure, but then I ended up having to buy something for Harper for her mom as well. On the way home, I just kept thinking, why am I buying someone else's wife a Mother's Day gift? That's his job. A few days later, because I didn't want to ruin Mother's Day, I told my wife that I'm sick of raising Harper. Her real father needs to step up. I'm tired of it taking away time that I get to spend with Emma. She said that Jennifer is her best friend and we need to be there for Harper. Now she's not speaking to me and is sleeping in the guest room. So, am I the jerk? Just wanted to add some updates to questions that I see. Emma and Harper are best friends. It was my idea to spend Saturday with Emma. I work more during the week, so I wanted to spend Saturday with Emma and to give my wife a bit of a break. We pay for things that Jennifer's husband thinks are a waste of money, like dance class, and Jennifer can't afford to pay for these things herself. Jennifer and Harper do things with Amber and Emma 1 or 2 times a week together during the weeknights. Not the jerk. If your wife wants to step up for Harper, then she needs to do that, not put it on you. She should be taking her places and doing things with her. Not the jerk. Stop taking Harper. It's that simple. You're having dad-daughter bonding time and don't want to tag along. If Harper wants to come along on these things, then make her mother come with you, but not your wife. Not the jerk. Just make plans to do something with your daughter and tell the friend that you will not be taking her daughter ahead of time. Not the jerk. Personally, I'd never be able to not take in a kid who needed it. A lot of kids with bad parents have their mental health saved by the kindness of friends' parents who step up. That being said, it's not something you're required to do. I do feel bad for the kid though, but none of this is her fault. Complain to me pretending to be the patient's father? Well, let's involve her parents then. I used to work at a very nice private hospital where the place looked like a hotel. The food was great and the service unrivaled. We were voted best private hospital in the country quite a few times, and all around people were happy and the care was great. The nurses were mostly old school, stern, but very passionate about patient care, with no time for anything that stops them from doing their job. My job was to focus on marketing and complaints, and to be honest, I didn't have a lot of work on the complaint side, but every now and again something would come up. If there was an incident, the RNs would usually come and warn me to expect something and give their side of the story. One morning as I got to work, a registered nurse was waiting at my door to update me on an incident that happened the previous night. There was an 18-year-old patient who had a small operation, but was prone to dizziness and fainting. Now, slips and falls are a big thing in hospitals, and these incidents get monitored very closely. Since she was a slip and fall risk, they moved her to a private room right in front of the nurse's station so that she could be monitored throughout the day and night. One night, the tattoo-clad, older nurse's description, 20-something-year-old boyfriend comes to visit and forgets that this is in fact a hospital and not a hotel. Old school, stern nurse realized something is amiss when the room's doors were closed, and after she pushed the door open, the curtains around the bed were drawn too. Seeing that privacy takes second priority to a patient's healing and safety in a hospital, old school nurse wasn't having any of this. She pulls the curtains open, pulls the boyfriend out of the hospital bed, and gave them both a talking to. Tattoo boyfriend left soon afterwards, apparently furious that his evening was ruined. Sure enough, 2 hours after the nurse visited my office, I get an email from patient's father detailing how his daughter's privacy was invaded the previous night, how she had a private conversation with her boyfriend, and how they were unfairly treated by a nurse. I was surprised that an older gentleman would write an email to a hospital with so many spelling errors and a complete lack of punctuation. But the email address, something like tattooguy@gmail, was a total giveaway as to who the real author was. Now, technically, I was just able to reply on the email, detailing our experience and side of the story. However, sharing private patient information on an email to an unconfirmed email address is bound to get me in some serious trouble. So I did what any sane and perhaps slightly malicious person would do. I called document control and asked them to pull up the email address on file for me. This happened to belong to her mom. I forwarded the email to her, mentioning that I received the following email from her daughter's father, but since she's the contact person on file and we need to stick with the people that we have permission to contact, may she be as kind as to share our response with him. I then detailed what the nurse told me about the patient being a slip and fall risk that required constant monitoring, about the boyfriend visiting, about the door and curtains being closed, and the nurse catching them in the hospital bed together. I apologized on behalf of the nurse for invading their privacy, but explained that open doors are protocol to ensure a patient's safety, and our main priority is getting a patient safe, healthy, and back at home as soon as possible. I ended the mail with my contact details and invited her to contact me if she had any further questions. Well, if the parents didn't know about the incident, now they did. I'm told the daughter was well behaved for the remainder of the time, and the boyfriend didn't stop by once during the rest of the patient's stay. So, lessons learned. Don't include your parents' details on your hospital file as your main contact details if you don't want them contacted. Don't try and catfish a hospital employee, and respect the hospital for what it is, a place of healing and not a hotel. Am I the jerk for telling my fiance her sister is not invited to our wedding? So I, 27 male, and my fiance, 28 female, have been together close to a year, engulfed for half of that. We're planning a wedding in the fall of 24 and have started a guest list. She comes from a big family and I'm an only child. We are close with one of her sisters in particular and often went to visit her and play board games and such. This sister has a fiance and is pregnant. Recently, my fiance told me that her sister was having a shotgun wedding before the baby arrived in order to keep with their traditional values and appease their family's religious desires. Back up a bit. I've done a lot for her sister and soon-to-be husband. I planned a birthday party for his son from another marriage. I've given her rides, always brought small gifts when I would visit. I've gone as far as to stop everything I was doing to help her during a health scare while she was still pregnant. I really felt like I was a part of the family. Fast forward. In a text to my fiance upon announcing her wedding, her sister made a point to say, "It's a small wedding, no plus ones. OP can come to the dinner afterwards. All fine by me." I honestly don't really mind, as ceremonies can be dull, and I understand why she would only want to have immediate family at her small wedding. I woke up on the day of the wedding to help my fiance get ready and drive her over to her sister's house. I planned on driving my fiance, her sister, and her sister's soon-to-be husband to the venue and bringing them to the dinner afterwards. My fiance told me, "It's okay, just drop me off at my sister's and we'll get a ride over." A little odd, but I was fine with that too. I arrived over there, and as my fiance got out of the car, I asked if I could come in and congratulate them. She seemed hesitant and said, Okay, let me just text my sister to make sure." I was dressed in plain clothes and was hesitantly invited to come inside. We walked up to the house. Inside was a party of her siblings and their friends and significant others, all dressed up. They all looked at me and didn't say much. I saw another one of her sisters and her new boyfriend was in a suit. Everyone was invited. The no plus ones only applied to me. I immediately left and in a text told my fiance they were off the guest list for our wedding. My fiance is upset with this because her sister is her close friend. She said maybe I did something to upset them, which is why I wasn't invited. But I've been nothing but kind and caring to her entire family. I've spent hundreds of dollars and gone above and beyond for everyone. Now we're fighting over this. Am I the jerk? Seems to me your fiance knew beforehand about you being the only one not invited. I think you also have a fiance problem if she can keep this from you as well as not backing you up on not inviting her sister. Not the jerk. What about not inviting your fiance to your marriage? I mean, not marrying her. Yeah, it should be a legit thought. Your fiancé knew everything all along. Well, what you got was the prize of being a too nice guy. Rethink this relationship, buddy. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. Your fiancé went along with excluding and manipulating you into believing the no plus ones rule. No matter how much she may try to pin this on her sister, family, whoever, she was an active participant. A true partner wouldn't have allowed that, or at the absolute bare minimum would have been honest with you about why you weren't wanted at the event. This behavior is not even a red flag, it's a biohazard sign. You've been together for less than a year, so you still have ample room to make a clean break and find someone who appreciates and includes you. Am I the jerk for wearing a strong perfume? I, 19 female, am from a Middle East country. Most perfumes here have a very strong scent and people can smell them from far away. I'm not a fan of these types of perfume, and I always wore light scented. That is, until my mom's best friend gifted me a tester of an Arab perfume I honestly really liked. That was 3 years ago, and I've been using it since then. A few weeks ago, I arrived to the Philippines for a vacation, and I've been enjoying it here, and I'm still using the perfume, and my cousins liked it. So I didn't see any issue until today when I was in a store with my mom looking around at stuff. And then a woman walks up to me and said my weird perfume attacks her poor nose, and what kind of perfume is that? I didn't say anything because I was embarrassed and I didn't know what to say. My mom told her off and the woman left us alone. Now I feel bad because people have different noses, and I know most people are sensitive when it comes to strong scents, and some people can't even breathe being around someone who wears too much perfume. And if you're confused about how much I do spray, I use 8 sprays before going out. 2 on each side of the neck, shoulder, and waist. 2 sprays on both arms. I hope it's understandable to read. I don't respray throughout the day because it can last a day and a half, except if there's an occasion of something special, and if I do, I don't spray as much as before. Am I the jerk? Okay, I now understand that I'm in the wrong here. I want to say that I wasn't aware that 8 sprays is bad, and I thought that's what all people do, and thought it was normal. Most people I've encountered, especially in college, bathe themselves in perfume every day, probably more than 8 sprays. The classroom would be filled with mixed perfumes from here and there, and some resprays a lot too, and I get annoyed about it, and I considered mine as less as how much they sprayed. Well, I didn't know that I was one of them too. You're the jerk. It's totally obnoxious to wear that much perfume. You say it's very strong, and yet you wear 8 sprays of it? You're basically trailing your scent like Pepe Le Pew. Perfume is a very personal thing. You love the scent, so put on enough that you smell it, not the whole shopping center. You're the jerk. Apply less. You can wear a strongly scented perfume, but the amount you apply will have a big impact on how far away people can smell the perfume. They shouldn't be able to smell it unless they're standing right next to you. 8 sprays is an insane amount to use. With my perfume, I do 2 sprays, maybe 3 if I know I'll be outdoors. And those sprays are actually under clothing, so they diffuse less. Try doing a spray on your neck or chest and a spray on one arm, then pat your arms together. Don't rub. Am I the jerk for breaking a promise to take my niece and nephew for the summer? I, 34 female, and my wife, 35 female, were planning to keep her brother's kids, who are 10 and 7, for this summer, as her brother and sister-in-law wanted a break and time to themselves. We figured this would work out, as a long-term fostering just finished for us, and we'd been considering taking a break for a little bit to regroup and focus on our relationship before we took on our next placement. However, we got an emergency placement call last night with the agency asking if we'd be open to taking on 3 kids, out of respect for them I won't give any of their details, who needed immediate placing that would likely be long-term, and after asking for an hour to discuss it, we sat down together and decided we'd do it and called back to accept. However, given this and the attention these kids will need because of their situation, we've decided bringing 2 other kids not part of this sibling dynamic into the house for a long-term stay is not wise. So my wife and I called her brother to explain this, and I even suggested, as we'll be somewhat settled by then and in a routine, that if my wife wanted to take her niece and nephew somewhere for the weekend, perhaps to visit her parents, I'd be more than happy to hold down the fort with our new kids so my brother-in-law and his wife could get at least a little bit of time together. My wife liked that idea and agreed it could work out, but my brother-in-law did not like it one bit and got upset with us both over this, as we had promised, and it would break the kids' hearts. My wife was annoyed by this and said that it wasn't like he'd booked a vacation anyway, and he and his wife just wanted to spend time at their home, and it's not as perfect as the whole summer, but surely it's better than nothing. My brother-in-law then threw in our faces that his kids were blood-related, and yet we were taking in strangers over his. My wife has a temper when our fosters are insulted, and she began to go off on him. And I took the phone off speaker at this point to let her calm down, and I told him if he felt that way, we'd be unable to watch his kids at all for the foreseeable future. And while we loved our niece and nephew, we also loved all the kids in our care, and until he realized that and apologized, he would not get to take advantage of our childcare. I also may have told him I hoped his kids never needed to be in a placement like the ones we will be caring for. A low blow, I know, but my wife wasn't the only one annoyed. Since then, some of my wife's family have been hounding us over this and how unfair it is of us to let down the kids, and how while I was her wife, I had no right to take over the phone call at the end and make that decision alone. We've since stopped answering all calls from them for now. Maybe it was wrong to take over the call and to cancel plans we'd promised already. I don't much care about upsetting him, but I feel guilty for my nephew and niece as we broke a promise that we made. Edit. Hi guys, bit busy currently, so this is an update to answer the top questions as I don't have time to respond individually. I'll try to check back in a few hours. My brother-in-law and his wife both work from home. There's plenty for the kids to do in the area, and his wife's family also lives close by for emergencies. It's no different from any other school holiday plan they usually have. We aren't leaving them in a rut, with having to be at work with no one to watch the kids. Also, there seems to be some confusion. We were never going to watch them for 3 months back to back. I'd be horrified at someone wanting to get rid of their kids for a quarter of the year. The summer is a phrase here referring to a point in the summer break. Our intention was to watch them for July. Not the jerk. What kind of parents think they're entitled to 3 months off from their kids? You must wear black footwear. Okay, if you insist. When I was younger, I worked in an office for a printing company. My boss was notorious for his strict adherence to company policies, particularly when it came to dress code. One day he made an announcement that all employees must wear black footwear with no exceptions. This rule caught my attention, and I decided to have some fun at my boss's expense because he really was an awful micromanaging boss. You could never do anything right. So the next day I walked into the office wearing black flippers, diving flippers, instead of traditional black shoes, which is clearly how black footwear is meant to have been interpreted. As I made my way down the hallways, all my colleagues couldn't help but burst into laughter. The sight of a professional employee strutting around in flippers was too amusing to resist. Word quickly spread, and soon everyone was giggling and peeking out of their cubicles to catch a glimpse of my act of defiance, or shall we say malicious compliance. When the boss caught sight of my unconventional footwear, his face turned bright red with anger. He stormed over, veins pulsating on his forehead and everything, ready to shout. However, before he got a chance to say anything, I pointed out that I was indeed following his policy of wearing black footwear. I think he was close to completely losing it because he stormed off into his office, grunting like a warthog. Technically, I had complied with his instructions, and there was no explicit mention of traditional footwear in the policy. He couldn't take any disciplinary action without seeming unfair. My colleagues found the situation even more hilarious at this point. I got many compliments for outsmarting our strict boss. From that day forward, my act of malicious compliance became legendary in the office. It sparked a newfound sense of rebellion, with employees pushing the boundaries of the dress code in hilarious and imaginative ways. Some wore black sneakers with flashing LED lights, while others donned black high-heeled slippers. The office became a more vibrant and joyful place, with employees embracing their individuality while technically adhering to his directives. The absurdity of the situation left him fuming, but he didn't want to look stupid by changing his policy again so quickly. It's safe to say we didn't see him in the main office much after that day. In the end, I hope he learned an invaluable lesson about the importance of specifics and clarity, while also learning that people can have fun while working to create a better morale and improve the workplace. But a week later, he was gone. He was replaced by a lovely lady that found this whole situation very funny and complimented all of us on how good the morale was. Woman went ballistic because I gave her free food. So I'm chilling at the bar, and this lady walks up to me with a to-go plate of cheese nachos and tells me she's missing her shrimp. I'm like, okay, I'll go tell the kitchen to make them for you real quick. And as I'm walking away, she tells me she's also missing a salad and the extra meat she ordered for her quesadilla. So I'm like, darn, the kitchen usually doesn't make that many mistakes. I decide to look at her online order and discover she didn't pay for the item she's asking for. She asked for the extra stuff in the notes section of the food, but didn't charge herself. I'm like, okay. Ma'am, you didn't order the correct food on the ordering service. And she responds, I know what I ordered. I ordered shrimp nachos, not cheese nachos. She's saying all this as I'm showing her our iPad, showing her that she ordered cheese nachos, and even how the prices don't match. She then starts getting mad because we got her other stuff wrong. She says that we should have put all the stuff from the notes with the food because she had wrote, I'd like extra meat. I'll pay for it when I get there. Problem is, she had already left the building with the food, then came back when she saw we didn't put the extra stuff she asked for free. So I point out that, ma'am, you left the building and didn't pay for the extra meat. Meaning, I tried to convey to her that it looks like she never planned on paying for any of the extra stuff in the first place, but she played dumb. She then started blaming the cooks for not telling me to call her and to let her know she didn't input the food correctly. Honestly, she got us there, and I let her know that I'd let the cooks know not to do that again. Then she starts complaining about how, why didn't she just get the stuff for free? And at this point, I was out of patience and told her, ma'am, you got what you paid for. We aren't allowed to give out free stuff. And this gets her riled up even more, and she starts yelling, no, I didn't. I assume because she feels entitled to the free stuff she was asking for. At this point, all I say is, I'm gonna get you the shrimp from the back, but I'm going to have to charge you for it. Is that okay? She yells, fine, that's what I'm here for. I let the cooks know, and they make me a side of shrimp and a salad that she asked for. I walk out and hand her the stuff, and she asks, how much is it? And I say, it's free. Just please take a look at what you order on the DoorDash. And this is where she goes ballistic, yelling, no, I don't need no free handouts. I didn't ask for it for free. And starts yelling out more nonsense. And at this point, I'm like, ma'am, please leave. And she leaves all angry. Could I have gone about this more diplomatically? Probably, but she had such a bad attitude, I honestly wasn't going to bother. Am I the jerk for telling my husband to skip gym days or reduce his time at the gym? My husband treats the gym like a religion. He absolutely must go to the gym at specific times on specific days, 5 days per week. It's a 2 to 2.5 hour workout each day, plus 30 minutes for driving, plus 30 minutes for his second shower each day. So it's like an extra 3 to 3.5 hours each time. He'll turn down plans with friends if it conflicts with his workout schedule, and he'll push aside any other conflicting responsibilities because it's his #1 priority in life, and I'm getting fed up with it. I've thought the amount of time he spends at the gym is a lot, but I've never been super into the gym and don't really know if it's all that much. He says it's really not that much time at the gym. We both work a lot, and I find myself having to pick up a lot of the slack around the house and taking care of chores, errands, and responsibilities because he just doesn't have the time in the day. I find myself hardly sleeping, and I can never find the time to work out myself because I just feel so overwhelmed with everything I have to take care of outside of work. If I need him to take care of something on a certain day and it conflicts with his gym schedule, it's always a hard no. If I ask him to take care of things a lot of the time, he just won't have time to do it between work and the gym. If I ask him to not go a day because I need his help, he'll make me feel extremely guilty because he frames it as me not caring about his health, because going to the gym is ultimately for his health and well-being, and he says he'll be more well-rested and more able to help me out if he goes to the gym. But I've been growing increasingly more resentful, and I really feel that the gym is more of a hobby for him and more for the goal of building his body. He mostly does weightlifting, not cardio, and he just uses health as an excuse to make me feel guilty for being a bad wife who doesn't care about his health. He's constantly telling me I'm crazy for getting on his case about the gym and says that it's ridiculous that I'm asking for him to deprioritize his health. I don't know if I'm a jerk for thinking that he shouldn't spend so much time at the gym and making it his #1 priority over other responsibilities, because I know that health is a priority, but I also don't know if there's a reasonable balance I should be asking him to strike here. I'm just going to toss this to think about. My brother did the same thing, 5 days a week, always the same time, lots of hours, refused to alter his schedule, etc. He was cheating on my ex-sister-in-law, and this was how he arranged it. He left his cell phone out one day when he was late, and the affair partner sent a text. Just do a bit of quiet investigating if this raises a flag. First, this isn't about the gym. This is about him not pulling his weight around the house and deprioritizing your relationship. He's counting on you to pick up the slack. You don't mention having kids, so here's my advice. Stop overcompensating for his lack of care and attention to your home and your relationship. Sit down and write out everything that needs to happen to keep your home and lives running aside from both of you working. Estimate times for all of it. Tell him that you are not going to complain about the gym anymore, but you have been doing the bulk of the work. Show him the list and explain that you will not be doing more than half anymore. Now stop doing more than half. Then take 2 hours a day and go enjoy your summer. Find something to do that you love. When he complains about stuff being done, simply remind him that you are doing your share and he needs to handle his. When he complains about you being unavailable, ask him if he wants to plan a date night with you. Your husband needs to step up, but he needs to experience the gaps you have before he can recognize them. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. He's married to the gym, and no, 2 to 2.5 hours is not normal. Any workout should be like an hour at most. In fact, you need to rest in between days so your body heals from the previous workouts. He's using the gym to get out of responsibilities and, well, his family life. Neighbor does illegal backyard burn during fire season and gives me an asthma attack. We live in a real woodsy place and there is no HOA. I'm pretty sure my neighbor owns his house and is not renting it. We also had a really bad wildfire in our area 2 years ago that caused our whole town to be evacuated for a month. Fire is a really big deal here, and backyard burning needs to be approved by the fire station and the county air pollution district. We're at wit's end with my neighbors. He, his wife, and their kid moved in back in 2020, and I've hated every moment of it. He plays music real loud, yells all the time, and now he's doing backyard burns. I have really bad asthma and was doing the dishes this afternoon when I suddenly smelled a bunch of smoke. I had an intense asthma attack from it, and I still haven't fully recovered. I bring my inhaler with me and go outside to see what's going on. My neighbor had a huge amount of smoke coming from his yard and was just chilling and watching it. I walked down the street to where I'd be visible and asked him what he was doing. "I'm burning stuff." I told him that my windows were open and a bunch of smoke was coming in my house and I had an asthma attack and that he can't be burning so close to people's houses. I also asked him if he had a permit for this, which he claimed he didn't need one, but he does, and I pointed him to where he could get one. Although he wouldn't even qualify since we live in a residential neighborhood and his home is on less than 1/4 of an acre. He got really aggressive with me for confronting him, yelling at me saying, I can't tell him what to do on his property. I told him if what he's doing is affecting my health, I have a right to complain. He then went on about how awful my husband and I were because we confronted him one time 2 years ago when he started playing his music so loudly that we couldn't even hear our own television. I told him that I was trying to be nice talking to him because I could have just called the fire department and could have had him fined. He claimed since he didn't know he needed a permit, then he couldn't have been fined. He literally didn't understand that just because you didn't know something was against the law, that means you get immunity from consequences. While we were talking, he said he had to get rid of one of his dogs recently because neighbors kept complaining about his dog getting loose. His big German Shepherd was constantly running around our neighborhood, and a different neighbor came to talk to me about it since so many other neighbors complained. He said it wasn't his fault that the fences on his property were old and rotten when he moved in and his dog kept leaving the property. I pointed out that my dog doesn't run away or go into his yard despite our fencing needing some repairs too. He really doesn't seem to grasp that there are consequences to his actions. When talking to him, it feels like I'm trying to reason with one of the kids at the daycare I work at. I noticed how aggressive he was getting with me. I'm a short woman in my mid-20s, and he's a big burly guy in his 30s or 40s, so I was getting pretty scared. I tried some de-escalating tactics I do with the kids I work with, using a calmer voice and giving him positive reinforcement, telling him how much I've appreciated him being better with the volume of his music, and convinced him to talk to the fire department about getting a permit and to burn things on the other side of his yard, away from the house. He was much happier after that, but it was still scary to talk to a big, gruff, unstable guy by myself since my husband was at work, and to try to get him to understand that he can't light fires in his yard during fire season and that his actions are affecting my physical health. This confrontation was a few hours ago, and I'm still really suffering from the asthma attack I had earlier. My chest hurts, my throat and eyes are burning, and I've been having lots of coughing fits. My husband and I are planning on getting security cameras, and next time we will call the fire department. I told my boyfriend's daughter that I owe her nothing. I started dating Dave 3 years ago. He has a daughter, Cassie, who's almost 20, and I have a son, John, who's 16. Dave moved in with me last year. Cassie sees me as someone who broke up her parents, despite her mom and dad being divorced for a year before I even met him. She has just treated me like absolute dirt since day one, calling me every single name in the book, egging my house with her friends 2 years ago, etc. Now I convinced Dave to bring his daughter on a vacation last year shortly after he moved in with us so he could talk to her one-on-one about her behavior and set some ground rules because her behaviors became severe after he moved in with me, to a point where I almost told him to pack his crap up. So he agrees to go on vacation with her. When they return, she says something along the lines of, "I'm sorry, but you are not my mom. You are not my family. You are nobody to me. You and your kid will never be anything more to me than you are now. I will be nice, but don't expect anything from me, and never expect me to go the extra mile for you or your kid." After that, she left. She didn't say it in an overly mean tone. She was pretty calm about it, and I didn't even know how to feel about it, honestly. She never gave me a chance to respond either, so I kind of just stood there contemplating it, and later on, Dave asked that I just give her some time. So I agreed, and we went on about our life. Now, Cassie still has nothing to do with me or my son. It's been a year since her vacation with her father. She's come here several times, but she won't engage in any conversation with us. In fact, if we say anything to her, she kind of just raises her eyebrows and nods. Well, I'm planning a vacation to Florida in 3 weeks for me, my son, and Dave. He suggested we bring Cassie, and I said she could go if she pays for it. Or him, one of the two. Cassie doesn't have a job, lives with her mom, and Dave can't afford a flight ticket for her. So she came over yesterday and stated that I should be paying for her ticket because if I wanted to make things right and build a relationship, this would be where to start. So I quoted what she had said to me last year, and I said, "I will not be going the extra mile for you, and I owe you nothing. You can come, but you or your dad will be purchasing the ticket, not me and not my kid, who works." I'm now being told that I'm petty, childish, and need to grow up because she is a kid, stating that I am the adult here, and if I want to make this work, I need to prove to Cassie that I want a relationship with her. Am I the jerk? Absolutely not the jerk. Cassie isn't a kid. She's a 20-year-old woman who knows better. She was given an opportunity to apologize, and she squandered it. Suddenly she wants OP to want to start a relationship with her because she'll get something nice out of it. She's just greedy. Opportunistic and manipulative, might I add. Any relationship that is based on someone giving the other money is no relationship worth having. And huge shout out to our new subscribers, Jasmine, Daniela, and Taffy Fanta. Subscribe to the channel and tick the bell for all notifications, and you could get a shout out in our next video. And come watch this video next. You're not gonna believe what happens in that one.